This is the new TC Pride Podcast, episode 133, on location at Twin Cities Pride headquarters with Belstler, Executive Director of Twin Cities Pride. TC Pride Podcast on location here at Twin Cities Pride headquarters for a very special festival preview edition of the podcast. And I am here with
Belstler, Executive Director of Twin Cities Pride.
So great to see you here. I don't know if you heard, there's a big party coming up like in next weekend in Loring Park. So I don't know if you heard about this.
No, not at all.
So we are in the thick of planning the festival. So I don't want to take too much of your time. There are a couple of things we did want to talk about. We just had a fantastic Grand Marshal Reception last week, so we want to make sure and talk about that a little bit. Also, there are some changes coming to the festival and to the actual parade this year. We want to make sure and talk about that. And we're actually going to listen into some of the folks that we talked to at this year's Grand Marshal Reception. But first, we also want to mention that, on top of planning for this year's big festival in Loring Park, Twin Cities Pride has actually been out supporting a lot of other prides in the area already.
Yeah, it's really important for us to get out there and support smaller prides around. We were at Pine City a couple weeks ago, and then this last weekend we were at Golden Valley. And I just heard Columbia Heights is a planning of Pride Festival in July, so we're looking forward to supporting them as well.
That's right. How cool is it that not only are the smaller ones that have been around for a couple of years, they're starting to grow and thrive, but there's all these new ones popping up too.
It's awesome. I mean, there's Youth Pride happening over in Cushing or in Wisconsin that we're going to send a check to, and they're all over, and we're excited this year. So we'll be going to Mankato and Rochester and St. Cloud and Duluth after our Pride too.
That is awesome. People of Color Pride is also in play, right?
Yes, for sure. That's going to be in August, and that's going to be a 3-day event. They're going to have some education as well as their festival itself. So we're looking forward to supporting that as well.
Yeah, super excited to see all the involvement in the community. So let's jump right into it. Let's talk about this Grand Marshal Reception. So this was amazing. Let's take from there.
No, it was awesome. We were really pleased to honor Jessica Flatiqual as Grand Marshal. Jessica passed away in April, and her wife was there to accept the award on her behalf. Over 20 people nominated Jessica for that award, so that was just really special. We had, and for our community award went to the Ladies of the Lakes, and they're just a hoot. They are great supporters of the community. They do fundraisers all the time for different nonprofits.
You can't not smile when they walk into the room, right? Exactly.
And you can't not see them either. Exactly. So they're a riot. So yeah, we had a silent auction in conjunction with that event and raised a lot of money to help support that and some of the other outreach that we do.
We had some great corporate sponsorship and support from some businesses in the community too.
For sure. We had quite a few events. Excel Energy Center donated a 30-person suite to the J-Lo concert. Yeah, that went for a lot of money. That was awesome. And we had stuff from the Twins and the Wild and many small businesses around town. So it was really good this year.
And of course, our corporate champion this year.
White Bear Mitsubishi. They have been just a huge supporter of Pride and other nonprofits for a very long time, and we thought it might be time to recognize them as well.
Yeah, they actually, in addition to being honored, they also sponsored the Pride song this year, which people have probably heard by now.
Right. Mikko Blaze Bordeaux wrote that after he collected feedback on his Facebook page saying, "What does Pride mean to you?" Got a ton of responses and wrote a beautiful song for it. And we were able to buy the rights to it so we could use it during Pride season.
It's catchy. I mean, you hear that song and it's like in your head all day.
Exactly. Yes, it's going to be the new anthem. How's that?
And speaking of the song, speaking of Mikko, we actually did have an opportunity to speak to Mikko at the reception. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We're going to listen in to some of the folks that we talked to at this year's event. Then we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about the festival and the parade this year. So we'll be right back. Thanks for listening to the Twin Cities Pride Podcast. TC Pride Podcast on location of the 2019 Grand Marshal Reception, and I'm here with
Darcy Bellman.
Darcy. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing wonderful.
So Darcy, so you're our board chair. We're actually going to sit down and talk to you. We talked to you last year. We're going to talk again soon. But right now I wanted to talk to you about our Grand Marshal. You actually introduced our Grand Marshal tonight. I got the sense it was a very personal moment for you.
It was. Later in life, I decided to pursue my bachelor's. And I went to Minnesota State Mankato, and that's where I met Jessica. You know, Jessica was just one of those people that you would walk into the room. It was like instantly welcoming. It's like she intuitively knew what you needed, what you wanted at the moment, you know, and the space was welcoming. She was always there to help. And as I know, there were many people there that she helped navigate through coming out, and they're younger and such. But for me, I was out, but I was in a world that I wasn't used to. As a first-generation college student, I didn't know how to navigate college, you know, and she was there for me as far as any questions I had. I could email her, I could walk in the office, and she instantly would help me find an answer.
You know, what's really cool is that, so Jessica was in Mankato, and, you know, in the Twin Cities, I mean, you know, we have a really large, really engaged LGBTQ plus community. In a greater Minnesota, that isn't always the case, and those people are like those beacons in those communities.
They are, and I grew up in a rural community as well, and I could very much relate with what Jessica was doing, and I very much appreciated what Jessica was doing. Jessica was not only a beacon in Mankato, but there were a lot of people that, you know, when you go off to college, you don't always go close to home. You go, you know, sometimes if you are not accepted at home, you go a little ways away from your family. And Jessica was that point that made people feel accepted when they went off. You know, she would, you know, I was reading some of the nominations that she got, and, you know, there was a trans man that, you know, came out, wasn't accepted by his family, and Jessica made him feel welcome. Not only did she make him feel welcome, she made sure all of his professors were using the proper pronoun. She made sure that he had safe housing. She made sure that his life in college was what he needed it to be.
Well, it sounds like people like Jessica are few and far between. The world needs more people like Jessica. Thank you very much for sharing your memories. And like I said, we're going to sit down and talk again soon about the festival and kind of all that stuff. But it was great seeing you here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Maria Bevacqua. I am the wife of the Grand Marshal, Jessica Fladequil. She is posthumously Grand Marshal as she passed away in April. Jessica was an activist. She was a social justice warrior. Jessica loved the LGBT queer communities. She was an outspoken advocate for queer people and queer issues, and she's gone too soon. Her reach was tremendous because she may have been kind of situated in Mankato, but many people came through Mankato who moved on to other locations, who carried her spirit with them in the new places they went to, or they came to MSU as students and then went on to jobs in nonprofits or in education in other parts of the state or beyond the state, and carried Jessica's sense of pride and passion for LGBT issues wherever they went. So her reach was tremendous.
And I'm sure it's obviously a bittersweet moment, but how does it feel on a personal level to see all this love for Jessica tonight and to have her honored this way?
It's incredible. It's such an honor. Jessica would have loved to be honored in this way during her lifetime, and I am so thrilled to be accepting all of these honors and awards on her behalf. I miss her terribly, and it is absolutely bittersweet is really the right word, because it is just so awful to talk about her in the past tense.
I'm sure her life and her legacy was definitely worthy of all the celebration tonight. Thank you so much for your time, and maybe we'll talk to you again soon.
Yes, you're very welcome, and thank you.
Sister Luna Love a Good Time of the Ladies of the Lakes, the Twin Cities Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence.
So the sisters are recognized this year.
Yeah, so we were recognized this year by Twin Cities Pride. We are getting the Community Champions Award for the work that we do in the community. We do the work for no recognition, but it is a pleasant surprise and really rewarding that we are being recognized and getting this award tonight.
So we were chatting before we started recording here, and so I've been doing this for a while, and I see you guys out there in the community just spreading happiness and joy and goodwill everywhere you go. I know people really appreciate the influence that you've had on this community. How does it feel to be nominated and to be honored in this way?
It feels really awesome. It's really validating. There's a lot of things that are validating about the work that we do out in the community. When we talk to young people and they remember us is very validating, or people tell us their coming out stories, things like that, and it allows us to really get to know the people that we're serving in the community. But it is a little bit extra validation that we have a big award like this. Plus, we're looking forward to the convertible ride in the parade, so we don't have to walk, because a lot of us wear heels. So we can also look our best in the parade as well.
Like I said, you guys have been doing this in the community for a long time, so a lot of people are familiar with the work that you do. What can you tell people about your mission that maybe aren't as familiar?
Yeah, so our main mission is to spread joy and expiate stigmatic guilt. Because if I can go out looking like a queer clown drag nun, then you can be out in public, be proud of who you are, and look the way that you want to look and present yourself how you want to present yourself. But we also do a lot more than just spread joy and expiate guilt. We also raise funds for various queer organizations throughout the city, throughout the state, throughout the country, depending on where we're asked. And yeah, that's basically what we do.
And if people want to find out more about the organization or maybe get involved?
Yeah, so we all, if you ever see a sister, we almost all have Facebooks for our sister selves. We also have a website, lolsisters.org is the sister website for the Ladies of the Lakes. And that would be the best way to reach out to us if you are not on Facebook especially, or can't find a sister that's affiliated with the Ladies of the Lakes here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on all the work you've done over the years. It's so great to have you guys honored in this way tonight. Thanks, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you, and happy Pride.
Blaze Bordeaux. I actually wrote the song that they're going to be using for Pride. It's called My Pride. So I wrote it, and White Bear Mitsubishi bought it, sponsored it, and now it's the official song for Pride.
So the thing that intrigued me the most about this is that, so I'm a big karaoke fan, have been for a long time, but I understand you do it on a professional, competitive level.
Yes, I'm the 2018 World Karaoke Champion.
So how does that work?
So basically, the organization I work with, it's Karaoke World Championships. They're actually in Minnesota, and basically, you can go to the gay 90s, sing, qualify if you're good enough, judged and everything. You go to state final, and then they have several state finals throughout America, and then they all get together in Las Vegas for the national, and then we duke it out for the national title. Then at the national level, if you win, because there's only 2 winners, whoever those 2 winners are, then they get to go to the international competition, which this year will be in Tokyo, Japan.
And they made some big changes recently with regards to gender identification.
Yep, this year, 2018 was the first year that they removed the gendered categories. So instead of it being 1 female champion and 1 male champion, it's just 1 overall champion regardless of gender.
That is so cool. And so you performed the song tonight that you wrote for the festival this year. How does it feel to be so deeply involved in this community on that level?
It's really validating. It's also been really fun and cool because like this is the closest to a rock star I've ever felt like. So it's been really cool, but the opportunities that have already blossomed just from this one project have been just unbelievable, and I'm just very grateful that they're helping me out as a trans man of color. This is a big deal for me.
Well, I think you made a lot of new fans tonight. Where can people follow you online, maybe download your music?
So you can, all major streaming platforms, you can download My Pride. If you look me under Mikko Blaze Bordeaux, that's like my full artist name. Other than that, if you go on my site, Blaze Bordeaux, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, BlazeBRDX. So yeah, look me up. I've got plenty of shows around the Twin Cities, so I'm gonna be pretty busy these next few weeks.
Awesome. Well, it was so great to meet you. I look forward to hearing more from you in the future. Hopefully talk to you again soon.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Thanks. Happy Pride.
You too, happy Pride.
Wally Swan.
So Wally, you've been on the podcast before. We met a ways back. What have you been up to recently?
Well, I teach at Walden University and Hamlin University in their master's program. Hamlin right now I'm teaching contemporary social policy issues. In Walden I'm teaching organizational management and leadership. And I've just edited a book. It's taken about 2 years. It's for the leading publisher in the field of public administration and policy. It's called the Rutledge Handbook of LGBT Administration and Policy, and has 7 chapters that I wrote and then 34 chapters from leading authors from around the country. And it does a variety of different things. One of the things that it does is we have been excluded from the 2020 census, so they're not counting us unless we're in a married couple. And we've never known how many LGBT people there are in the country. So I knew that was going to happen, so I talked to friends of mine at the Williams Institute at UCLA, and they put together a chapter based on the Gallup poll that tell us exactly how many LGBT people there are in the country. Race, ethnicity, income, everything you want to know is in one chapter, one of the first chapters about demographics. We have the first chapter on intersex, because one of the guys that I know from the American Society for Public Administration is intersex, and I asked him to write a chapter. So this is the first chapter that's been published on that subject. We have 3 chapters on transgender issues. We have a chapter, a bisexual chapter. We have a wide variety of different topics. Homelessness for adults and seniors. We have lots of information about youth, but nobody knows how many adults and seniors that are LGBT homeless. And they're homeless because of gentrification, because their partner died and they can't afford to pay the rent. Those kinds of issues we talk about. We've got a leading chapter, one of the first chapters on incarcerated LGBT people, because somewhere around 30 to 40% of people in prison tend to be LGBT people. So this book covers lots of different areas, almost everything you could imagine, including talking about the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce, that we have a chapter here that's Quorum. And I'm involved in that, and so I made sure we had a chapter about our efforts on building businesses. We have a really good chapter on how to build relationships with other marginalized groups. We put a conference panel together at the American Society for Public Administration, where we had a table for each of the marginalized minorities, women and African Americans, Hispanics, LGBT, Asian American. Then we randomly assigned people who came to the thing so that they wouldn't go to their own table. They had to learn about the other minorities. And it worked really slick, so I put a chapter in here about how to build those kinds of relationships.
Fantastic. And so where can people find the book?
It is available on Amazon. You can go on to Amazon.com and type in Wallace, W-A-L-L-A-C-E, Swan, S-W-A-N, just like the bird, and Amazon.com, Wallace Swan, and then that book will come up. It's the 2019 book. I've written about 5 or 6 other books on LGBT stuff. There's a 2015 one, and earlier ones. So buy the most current one, the 2019 one. So that's where it's available.
Well, thank you so much for all the important work that you've been doing in the community. I'm sure we'll see you again. Thanks for being here tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate your work.
Quinn Villagomez, a.k.a. Shimmer.
Quinn, how you doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How does it feel to be here with all these people celebrating Pride tonight?
It feels beautiful, amazing to see the LGBTQ community come together. Whether you're gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, I think it's a great thing to celebrate who we are.
So tell people about the work you do in community who might not be familiar.
Sure. So I am a radio personality on a radio station called KFAI. It is a local community station here in the Twin Cities, and you can check it out on 90.3 FM in Minneapolis. And the show is called Fresh Fruit, and it is the longest running LGBT show in the nation. So I co-host every second Thursday of each month with my great friend Roxanne Anderson.
We were chatting a little before we started here, and I understand you've discovered a new talent that you didn't know you had.
I did, a writer. So now I'm a published author. It's pretty awesome. So I've written 2 articles for the Twin Cities Pride Guide. And my first one was in March on my best friend, Jonathan Bad Boy Gibson, who is a celebrity hair and makeup artist. And then I just did one that just came out today with Dave Edwards, who is a visiting lecturer at Hamline University and also a really proud father of 2 beautiful, amazing daughters. and his daughter Hildy, who is one of my personal sheroes.
Very cool. So where can people follow all the work you're doing and find out what you're doing on online or at the radio station?
Sure. So they can find me on Facebook. It's Quinn Villagomez. So it's Quinn Villagomez. They can also find me on Instagram at shimmerglitz13, SHIMMERGLITZ13, and I'm also Q Villagomez on Twitter.
Awesome. Great to see you as always, Quinn. I'm sure we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
And happy Pride.
Station amazing. Happy Pride, everybody.
Felix Foster, board member.
And so this is your first time on the podcast. You've been on the board for a little while now, though.
Yeah, 2 years. It's been a lot of fun. I had only been to Pride like 2 times before that and before joining the board. And so it's been a lot of fun getting to like kind of see all the behind the scenes, getting to help out a little here and there with everything that happens.
And what was the event like tonight for people that missed it?
Pretty fun. We had some really good art pieces, some really, really good silent auction items. So a lot of stuff is going pretty fast. I'm excited about that. Good donations.
Cool. I was surprised we hadn't had you on the podcast before, so it was really great to have you on. And I'm sure we'll be seeing a whole lot of each other over the next few weeks.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Samantha Landvik. I think that every time June rolls around, it's a very exciting and emotional experience. And especially this year when we're honoring someone who has recently passed away as our Grand Marshal, it becomes even more exciting and, slightly saddening to just know that so many people have dedicated and contributed so much of their lives to the cause of Pride and, have passed away also, for their contribution to this movement.
So what can you tell people about the experience of being a board member for Twin Cities Pride?
I think that being a board member of a nonprofit that serves so many community members in a large metropolitan area is a challenge. It requires sustained contribution and perseverance and a just genuine desire to give back in whatever may be needed of you. You have to be willing to contribute.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure we're going to be seeing a whole lot of each other over the next few weeks. I can't believe this is the first time you've been on the podcast, but I'm looking forward to having you on again.
Happy Pride. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you. Happy Pride. And we're back. Thanks for listening to the Twin Cities Pride podcast here with Twin Cities Pride Executive Director, Dot Belstler. So, Dot, there are some big changes coming to the festival this year. Maybe you wanted to talk a little about that.
Sure. I think the biggest one is that we moved our Pride a week early. We're normally the last full weekend of the month, but since this year is the 50th anniversary of Stonewall and New York City is hosting World Pride on our regular weekend, we deferred to them. Most of our volunteers want to go anyway, so we probably wouldn't have been able to pull off a Pride the last weekend of the month. The other big change we have is our normal parade route is under construction. So we're going to be going down 2nd Avenue.
It's like there's more under construction than not under construction, I think, this year in the city of Minneapolis.
It is crazy. Try to get through downtown. So it'll start at 3rd Street on 2nd Avenue and then come all the way down and round in front of the convention center where it turns into Grant and then directly into the park from there. Marchers will walk straight ahead into the park and floats and other vehicles can turn right on LaSalle to break down.
So this also affects our annual Rainbow Run as well, I'm assuming, right?
Absolutely. So we had to find a new route for the run because we always like to have the last mile beyond the parade route. It's going to be on West River Parkway, and then they'll be running up to the Stone Arch Bridge and then coming across there and then over to 2nd Avenue to the parade route. So, and then they'll be up on the parade route.
That's right. And of course, updated information could always be found on the new website. Let's talk about the new website. So I think last year we kind of kicked off the new website. It's been developing throughout the year. I was just checking it out. There are lots of cool accessibility features. We really want to make sure that the website is inclusive to everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. We for folks that really need a reader, there's a little icon on the upper right-hand side of the homepage or all the pages that you can click on, and it becomes an accessible feature. And we're also really striving to put more accessibility into the festival and the parade itself. For the parade, we have our grandstand area is going to be in front of the convention center, but we're carving out a spot too for ADAs for wheelchairs so that it doesn't have the median in front of it, so people can actually see the parade. And in the park itself, we have our big concert, TLC. and we made sure to offer ADA and ASL seating, and we're going to have to make that platform really big.
Yeah. So we actually did talk about that a little bit with Deshaun. If someone is interested in checking out some of the entertainment that does have accessibility needs, they can always reach out to the festival and do everything we can to accommodate them. I mean, that's one thing about Twin Cities Pride. Just in the time that I've been involved with the organization, like every year, it's just leaps and bounds, just doing everything we can to make sure that we're really inclusive of everybody.
We really try to do that. I know, like on our map this year, we're going to have the suggestion for the best place for Metro Mobility to drop you off. And we'll have charging stations at both, wheelchair charging stations at both of our first aid stations. So, and they always have, if somebody gets too hot or whatever, there's always ice packs available. The first aid station that's closest to operations also has air conditioning.
And of course, the escape space will be back, right?
Yeah, well, the Autism Society of Minnesota operates a tent called the Escape Space. It's air conditioned, has tables and chairs. They bring in some activities, and it's just a place for people to chill. Just get out of the crowds when it gets to be too hectic. Too nuts.
Yeah. And so, you also mentioned, people getting too hot. Maybe zoom out a little bit. So in a more general terms, we did just want to say just a few words. We're going to try to talk more about this on the podcast here leading up to the actual festival. But we did want to say a couple of words about making sure that you are taking care of yourself at the festival this year.
For sure. I think that's common advice to make sure that you're hydrating and drinking water. We have free water stations in the park. Every pop booth has a I don't know, I call it a bubbler, but I don't know what it's really called. And so you can fill up your own water bottle. You can buy a water bottle from us, whatever. So make sure that you are drinking water. Also, one of the things that we've seen in the Twin Cities lately is the massive overdoses. That is just shocking in numbers. And, so we are partnering with a Straight Reach team to have Narcan available on site. So if anybody sees has a situation, their friend is overdosed, we actually have a number you can text to, so you don't have to call. And that's going to be posted online for sure. And we'll be sharing that out widely.
And actually have that number here. So if people want to just make sure you have this number with you. So it is 612-516-3036. And people, hey, if there is any question, right? If there's any question, better safe than sorry is kind of the way I think about it. For whatever safety concerns you might have. Even if it turns out to be nothing, it's better to be safe than sorry. So don't be afraid to use that number.
Absolutely. And you can, take a picture of where you're at in the park and text that along with. Otherwise, you can look at the booths. All the booths have a number on them. They're color coded, and they have a number tag right on the front of them. So it's important not only that you call for help, but know where you are, so we can get help there, because that's what we want to do, is just help people and make sure everyone is safe at Pride.
Yeah, absolutely. It is the 50th anniversary of Stonewall. There'll be a lot of opportunities to party like it's 1999, especially with TLC being there, actually, literally like it's 1999. But we really want to make sure we're taking care of ourselves and making sure we take care of each other. That's really what it's all about. There are other events actually coming up that we want to talk about, maybe a little bit more family friendly, where people won't be, partying like rock stars. But and one of them is coming up this coming weekend too.
Right. Our Family Fun Day at Como Park is this Sunday, June 16th, 11 to 2 at the Como Park East Pavilions. The easiest way to get there is park in their shuttle lot and take the shuttle over from that. You can check that out on the Como Zoo website. But it's a great fun day. There's games for the kids. There's free hot dogs and corn on the cob, which is everybody's favorite, watermelon and drinks. The Minnesota Twins are going to be there with some games, and a couple of sponsors have some really cool games. So it's just a great way for folks who are sober to celebrate Pride too.
Yeah, we got to send a shout out to the Minnesota Twins too, especially, who just over the last few years have really stepped up to support Twin Cities Pride and the entire LGBTQ plus community.
Right, and the Twins, yes, they have been huge supporters, and even the Vikings have become more supportive. How's that? They are selling Viking Pride merchandise in their booth at Pride. They're giving all the proceeds to Twin Cities Pride for our outreach efforts. So we're super excited about that.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that I've heard about the Family Fun Day, just from talking to people in the community, is that it really, I mean, as inclusive as the Twin Cities, can be maybe compared to some other parts of the country. That's one thing that I've heard from families, is that this is really like one of the spaces, like every year, where you can just get together with a ton of other families that are, similar in some ways to yours, but obviously like different as well. But just, I know Twin Cities Pride goes out of their way to make sure that this is a safe, family-friendly space at least one time a year. Like, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, every place should be like this all year long. Unfortunately, it's not that way, but Twin Cities Pride goes out of their way to make sure that the Family Fun Day is always a family safe, family friendly event. And speaking of safety, we do want to talk about sort of like the festival in general. There have been some safety concerns over the last couple of years. And we're actually going to sit down and talk to Darcy, our executive director, in a little more depth about this. But, we did just want to make sure that people do know that there is a lot of work going on behind the scenes. I've been involved in, some of the planning sessions and the board meetings. I know personally that there is a lot of work done leading up to the festival to make sure that no matter what, as far as I can tell, Loring Park is going to be about the safest place in the state of Minnesota the festival weekend, and that goes with all the events that Twin Cities Prides hold. Safety is really a key concern.
Right. In our lead safety, our volunteers, we really kind of start with our volunteers. And then our next level is our hired security. And then the last kind of level is the Minneapolis Park Police. We're really aware and sensitive to the fact that queer people of color and trans folks often do not have great experience with police. So we really kind of keep them as really a last resort when there's a public safety issue. So really our volunteers are kind of the first line of defense, which we like a lot. I mean, it's obviously less intimidating if you're talking to somebody versus when there's a uniformed police officer in your face.
We also did want to talk about volunteers. So we talk about this every year. Like, this would not happen. Plain and simple, would not happen without all the volunteers. And there are still opportunities available for volunteers to get involved.
Absolutely. Our volunteers are the best. We have our staff is 2 people. There is no way we could pull this off. We have a staff of about 20 volunteers who are really our year-round. They're the heart and soul of Pride. They're the folks that use their PTO to put Pride on for everybody else. But then we have about 700 weekend volunteers, and we're probably only about half full right now, so we could really use some help. People can just email volunteer@tcpride.org to get in touch with Becky, our volunteer manager, and she can set you up. If you have a group of people, that's even better. The parade usually needs a lot of volunteers, especially being on the new route this year. People aren't going to be familiar with where we're going.
And, so in addition to the volunteers, there's also a lot of corporate support, and a lot of business leaders in the community also chip in to make this little party in June happen every year. I'm sure there are some people you'd probably want to thank and make sure people know about their support.
Sure. Well, so our biggest sponsors, of course, are Target and Delta. And, I think that the corporate support really is driven by employees of the company, the LGBT employees and the employee resource groups. Right. They are, they really push it in their companies. I know we get some grief sometimes about Pride is too corporate or whatnot. It's like, well, the corporate sponsors are the reason Pride is free. So we have a little balancing act there to make sure that we can keep the festival free for everybody to attend. We have a lot of new companies involved this year. Securian is the first time that they've ever sponsored anything. They'll be at the Family Fun Day this weekend. Deluxe, Deloitte, a lot are sponsoring the Rainbow Run and several others. And it's refreshing to see companies are finally getting it, that they need to support the community.
The floodgates have begun to open, it kind of feels like, huh?
Exactly. Yep.
And of course, we also want to remind people that this isn't just one weekend in June, that Twin Cities Pride is working all year long. There are lots of ways for people to get involved. It's great that we have people that come out and, want to volunteer and help during June, during Pride Month, during the festival. But there are a lot of different ways to get involved, including financially and volunteering at events throughout the year.
Right. We do try to create those safe spaces throughout the year and not just in June. Right. So I know we're going to have a family day out at Valley Fair in August. And we are in the midst of planning that. We've kind of taken a back seat the last couple of weeks. But always just check our Facebook page or our website for what events that we have going on. We'd love to see you. We do create a couple other family events throughout the year. We do a fall, kind of a fall festival. And then this year we did a Valentine's Day drag brunch for families.
Sweet. Yeah. The last thing we want to mention is that there's some new swag. There's some new T-shirts, and there's a new design this year, which is really cool. That maybe you can talk about that. That's going to be available at the festival this time for the first time, as far as I know.
So yeah, we just got some fun new hoodies that have the Pride logo and stitched into the hood. So it's kind of fun, and it's kind of a tone-on-tone gray or navy hoodie. So it's just fun. Yeah. We have some new T-shirt designs too that we'll have at the festival.
It's really cool because there's a lot of rainbows and glitter and everything at Pride. It's so cool because it's gray on gray, and it's really going to pop against all the other stuff. So I'm really excited for people to check that out. And of course, by purchasing merchandise we have to reiterate to people, this is the biggest fundraiser of the year for Twin Cities Pride to be able to do the work that they do. So stop by the merch booth and buy even if it's one T-shirt, even if it's a sippy cup or whatever it is, everything you buy that's Pride branded is helping to contribute to the work that Twin Cities Pride does all year.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we do count on the festival as our primary fundraiser. It really helps drive, like you said, all the work that we do year round.
And of course, besides the Twin Cities Pride, the tcpride.org website, the official website for the organization, there's also the new tcpridemag.com site, which is the official site for the new Twin Cities Pride magazine.
Right. Yep. tcpridemag.com is our Pride Guide issue is up there right now. And all the previous editions are also up there. We'll be adding some new online articles right through Pride season and ongoing. Our next issue comes out in August. But if you go to that website, you can find the locator where you can find the Pride magazine, the Pride Guide. So it's out. There's like 25,000 copies in 400 locations, something like that.
Basically everywhere you can get the Growler for the most part, right?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, if you've seen the Growler someplace, ask them for the Pride magazine.
Yeah, I actually heard a story that there are a few places around the Twin Cities where they're actually running out of Pride guides before they're running out of Growlers. There's the guys at the Growler are loving. They're excited about that. But yeah, that's a really great way to stay in touch with stuff that's going on throughout the Twin Cities LGBTQ plus and allied community. Also, really quickly, we want to mention that this is another opportunity for community members to get involved. So we talked to John Garland recently, their creative director, and this is really an opportunity for some of the parts of the community, some of the letters in the acronym, if you will, that have maybe traditionally been maybe less represented, to have their voice heard. I mean, the Twin Cities Pride podcast has really been, that has really been, one of my main focuses in doing this for the last number of years. But that is really a core principle of the new Twin Cities Pride magazine and the website that goes along with it, to really elevate these voices of some of the parts of the community that have been traditionally have had less access to a platform and to a voice, to having their voice heard.
Right. We really strive for diversity. When we first started working with the Growler folks, that was kind of one of our key things, is that all parts of our community needed to be represented. For example, this Quinn Villagomez, beautiful trans woman of color, has an article in each of the 4 editions this year. And it's great to hear from voices, like you said, that really aren't heard very much. There's an op-ed. Rocky from Avenues for Homeless Youth wrote a lovely op-ed. There's an article about Roxanne Anderson and their work with Community Center. There's poetry, and there's all sorts of art, and it's fun to look at.
Yeah, and I feel like, hey, if you do want to get involved, hey, make sure you reach out there. All kinds of opportunities, and Twin Cities Pride is really encouraging people from all over the community, from all the different areas of the community to get involved. So we hope people will definitely reach out. So with that, I guess we're gonna wrap up and let you get back to work here. Is there anything else you wanted to let people know about the festival? Anybody you wanted to thank, or as we're wrapping up here?
Well, I just want to wish everybody a happy Pride, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thanks so much, Dot. That is going to do it for this episode of the Twin Cities Pride podcast, and we will see you next time.
The TC Pride podcast is a production of the Non-Pod, nonprofit podcast community, and Twin Cities Pride. Subscribe now on iTunes, on Android, or by email at tcpridepodcast.org. Because we're in this together. Non-Pod turns your email newsletter, blog, or video content into a more powerful, more personal, more intimate, on-demand listening experience. Your podcast, your story, your voice, simplified, amplified. Learn more now at nonpod.com.